The silence she left behind did not feel empty. It felt occupied. Seraphine remained where she was long after the shadows disappeared, her breathing uneven, her wrists still tingling from where Morrigan had touched her. The room was quiet again, too quiet, like something had been removed too quickly, leaving the space struggling to adjust. Slowly she lowered her hand. The mark was still there. Darker now, clearer, alive. "This is a problem," she murmured. No answer came, but she wasn't expecting one. Sleep did not come, not even close. She lay still, staring at the ceiling, her body tense in a way she could not explain. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was something more irritating than that. Awareness. Every second stretched longer than it should, her mind replaying the same moment over and over again. The contact. The way everything had stopped. The way it had felt wrong. Her fingers pressed lightly against her wrist. Nothing. For a moment. Then pain. Sharp. Sudden. Violent. Seraphine's breath caught as she shot upright, her body reacting instantly as the mark flared beneath her skin, dark energy pulsing outward this time, not light, not hers. "No," she whispered. The pull came with it, not physical, not visible, but undeniable. Something was dragging at her from the inside, like a thread tightening, pulling her attention, her breath, her focus, toward something, someone. Her hand tightened around her wrist. "You've got to be kidding me." The pain spiked, worse this time. Her body folded forward slightly as she slid off the bed, one hand catching herself against the floor as the energy surged again, uncontrolled, unstable. Not hers. "This is your fault," she breathed. Far beyond the palace, Morrigan stopped walking. The forest stilled instantly. Not gradually, not naturally. Everything froze, because she had felt it. Her head tilted slightly, her expression sharpening as something unfamiliar twisted through her chest, sharp and immediate. "Again," she murmured. Her hand lifted slowly, dark magic gathering instinctively at her fingertips, then flickering, unstable. Her eyes narrowed. That had never happened before. "No," she said quietly. But the connection pulsed again, stronger, insistent, calling. Her gaze snapped toward the distant kingdom. Toward her. "You don't get to do this," Morrigan said. And then she disappeared. Seraphine didn't hear her arrive. She felt her. The moment the pain stopped. Instant, complete, like something had been cut cleanly away. Her breath hitched as her body stilled, her grip loosening slightly as the pressure vanished all at once. "You're late," she said, her voice quieter now. Morrigan stood behind her. "Close. Too close." "You're worse," Morrigan replied. Seraphine let out a strained breath as she pushed herself up, turning slightly to face her. "You keep saying that like it's new information?" Morrigan's gaze dropped immediately to her wrist. The mark pulsed once beneath her focus. "It's spreading," she said. Seraphine frowned. "That sounds like something you should have mentioned earlier. I didn't expect you to survive it. That's comforting." Silence. Then, Morrigan stepped closer. No hesitation this time. Her hand closed around Seraphine's wrist again, and just like before, everything steadied. The tension, the energy, the chaos. Gone. Seraphine exhaled slowly, her shoulders relaxing slightly despite herself. "Okay, I officially hate this." Morrigan didn't look at her. "You're not controlling it," she said. Seraphine glanced at her. "No, I thought I'd just let it destroy me for fun. That's exactly what you're doing. That's not intentional. It doesn't need to be." Seraphine tilted her head slightly, studying her now. "You're irritated." Morrigan's eyes flicked up to hers. "I'm observant." "No," Seraphine said softly. "You're annoyed." A pause. Then, Morrigan's grip tightened slightly. "You're becoming insufferable." Seraphine's lips curved faintly. "And you keep coming back." That landed. And this time, Morrigan didn't answer. Because she couldn't. Because she had. Twice now, without being called. Without being summoned. Without permission. Seraphine noticed. "Of course she did. You felt it too," she said quietly. Morrigan's gaze hardened instantly. "No, that wasn't a question." Silence. "Then, it's a connection," Morrigan said. Seraphine raised a brow slightly. "That sounds worse." "It is worse." "How?" Morrigan held her gaze. "Distance will make it unstable." Seraphine blinked once. "Define unstable." The mark pulsed again. Sharp. Immediate. Seraphine flinched slightly as the pain returned. And Morrigan's grip tightened instantly. It stopped. Again. Seraphine exhaled slowly. Oh, a pause. Then, that's really not good. No, Morgan said. It isn't. Silence settled between them again. But this time, it wasn't just tension. It was realization. Seraphine looked at her. Really looked this time. So what you're saying is, a pause. Then, I'm stuck with you. Morgan's expression didn't change. Temporarily, Seraphine tilted her head slightly. You don't sound convinced. I don't need to be. That's not how convincing works. Another pause. Then, Morgan released her wrist, stepping back. Too quickly. Too controlled. As if correcting something. This will be resolved, she said. Seraphine folded her arms slowly. You've said that twice now. And I meant it both times. Sure. Morgan's eyes narrowed slightly. You're very comfortable for someone who was on the floor a moment ago. Seraphine's lips curved faintly. You saved me, I stabilized you, that's not the same thing. It's not. The silence stretched again, sharp, almost petty. And for a brief moment, something lighter flickered between them. Morgan turned away first. This changes nothing, she said. Seraphine's voice softened slightly. Then why are you still here? That question, that one, landed deeper, because this time there was no immediate answer. Morgan didn't move, didn't disappear, didn't leave, she just stayed. And that was worse, because now it didn't feel like control. It felt like choice. The mark pulsed again, soft, steady, and neither of them stepped away from it. So what happens when the person you were supposed to destroy becomes the only one keeping you together? Morgan did not warn her. She didn't explain. She didn't ask. One moment, Seraphine was standing in her room, still trying to process the fact that her life now depended on a woman who had threatened to destroy her kingdom. And the next, the shadows moved, not around her, through her. Cold rushed past her skin, sharp and immediate, the room folding in on itself as the air twisted unnaturally, pulling everything inward before snapping outward again. Then, stillness. Seraphine inhaled sharply, her hand instinctively reaching for something that wasn't there as her surroundings changed completely. You could at least say something first, she said, her voice steady despite the shift. Morgan's voice came from behind her. I did. Seraphine turned. When now? Seraphine stared at her for a second. Then a soft, disbelieving breath escaped her. That's not how that works. Of course she didn't. The castle stood silent around them, not ruined, not broken. Perfect. Dark stone walls stretched high above, lined with tall arched windows that let in muted light from a sky that never seemed to fully brighten. Everything felt untouched, not abandoned, preserved, like time had decided to move around this place instead of through it. Seraphine's gaze moved slowly across the space, taking in the long hallways, the polished floors, the quiet, suffocating stillness. You live here, she said. Morgan stepped past her. I exist here. That sounds worse. It is... Anyway, because she didn't really have a choice. Because the moment she took a step too far away, the mark pulsed. Sharp. Immediate. She stopped. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, she muttered. Morgan didn't turn back. Stay close. That sounded like an order. It was... Seraphine rolled her eyes slightly, closing the distance again. You're enjoying this. I'm not... You transported me across an entire kingdom. And now you're telling me where to stand. That is not enjoyment. That is control. That is necessary. Seraphine let out a quiet breath. You're exhausting. Morgan didn't respond. But her pace slowed. Just slightly. They entered a wider chamber. And this time, Seraphine noticed it immediately. The difference. The shift. The space was larger, more open, lit by soft flickering light that reflected against dark stone and deep crimson fabrics draped along the walls. Everything felt deliberate here, intentional, like this room mattered more than the rest. And then she saw her. Morgan had changed. Not completely, but enough. The black was gone, replaced. A deep red gown wrapped around her form, smooth and fitted, the fabric catching the dim light in a way that made every movement sharper, more defined. It wasn't soft. It wasn't delicate. It was controlled, powerful, and undeniably striking. Seraphine blinked once. Then again, you own colors, she said. Morgan didn't look at her. I own everything. That wasn't what I meant. I know. Seraphine crossed her arms slightly, her gaze lingering just a second longer than it should have. You look different. Morgan's eyes flicked toward her. That sounds like an observation. It is. A pause. Then, I didn't ask. Seraphine's lips curved faintly. You don't ask anything. I don't need to write silence. But it wasn't empty, because something had shifted. Subtle, but real. The mark pulsed again. Softer this time. Steady. Seraphine exhaled slowly, her shoulders relaxing just slightly. Okay, so this works. Morrigan's gaze dropped briefly to her wrist. Proximity stabilizes it? Seraphine raised a brow. You say that like you've done this before. I haven't. That's reassuring. It shouldn't be. Seraphine let out a quiet breath. Great. She moved slightly, testing it, 2 steps away. The mark flared instantly. Pain snapped through her wrist. She stopped. Okay, no, that's very clear, she muttered, stepping back quickly. The pain vanished. Just like that. Morgan watched her. Closely? You're learning, she said. Seraphine glanced at her. I'm surviving. That's the same thing. It's really not. Morgan didn't argue. Seraphine turned slowly, looking around again, taking in the space. The silence. The weight of being somewhere she absolutely should not be. So what now? She asked. Morgan moved past her again, calm, composed, completely at ease in a way that made everything else feel even more out of place. Now you stay. Seraphine blinked. That's not happening. It already is. I have a kingdom. You have a problem that doesn't cancel out the first one. It does now. Seraphine stared at her. You're serious. Morgan didn't look back. I always am. A pause. Then Seraphine stepped closer. Not because she wanted to. Because she had to. You kidnapped me, she said. I relocated you. That's worse. It's accurate. Seraphine let out a breath, shaking her head slightly. You're unbelievable. Morgan turned this time. Slowly. You challenged me, she said. And you marked me. Seraphine shot back. A pause. Then, we're both dealing with the consequences. Silence settled again. Heavy. Balanced. Unavoidable. Seraphine moved slightly closer again, stopping just within that invisible range where the pain didn't return. So what? She said quietly. I just stay here with you. Morgan held her gaze. Until I fix it. Seraphine tilted her head slightly. And if you don't... Morgan didn't answer immediately. Then, I will... That's not what I asked. It's the only answer you're getting. Seraphine studied her for a moment longer. Then, you don't like not being in control? Morgan's eyes narrowed slightly. I am in control. Seraphine's lips curved faintly. You keep saying that. A pause. Then, you're still here. That landed. Again. And this time, Morgan felt it. Because it was true. Because she was. Because she hadn't left. Because she didn't want to. The mark pulsed again. Soft. Steady. And for a moment, neither of them moved. Because now, it wasn't just pain keeping them close. It was something else. Something quieter. Something neither of them had named yet. Seraphine exhaled slowly. This is going to be a problem, she said. Morgan's voice was calm. It already is, and neither of them stepped away. So what happens when being close to your enemy stops feeling like a weakness and starts feeling like something else entirely? The silence in Morrigan's castle did not feel empty. It felt watched. Seraphine noticed it almost immediately. Not the obvious kind, not footsteps, not movement, something subtler. The kind of awareness that lingered just behind her, like the space itself was paying attention. She turned suddenly. Nothing. Just the long corridor stretching endlessly, dim light flickering against stone walls that had seen far too much to care about her curiosity. You do realize this is unsettling, she said. Morgan didn't look up from where she stood near the far end of the hall, her attention fixed on something Seraphine couldn't see. It's not meant to be comfortable. That's very clear. Seraphine took a few steps forward, then stopped. The mark pulsed. Sharp. Immediate. Right, she muttered, stepping back into range. Still hate that... Morgan didn't respond. But her lips twitched. Just slightly. Seraphine moved again. Slower this time. More deliberate. Her eyes scanning the walls, the floor, the ceiling, trying to place the feeling she couldn't shake. You're watching me, she said suddenly. Morgan's voice came calmly. I'm standing right here. That's not what I meant. A pause. Then, you're always watching me. Silence. That was answer enough. Seraphine turned fully now, folding her arms slightly as she studied her. That's not creepy at all. It's necessary. To understand what you are. Seraphine raised a brow. You could just ask. I don't ask questions. That's a terrible personality trait. It hasn't been a problem. Seraphine's lips curved faintly. It is now? She moved again, slower. testing, watching, and then she saw it. A mirror, tall, dark-framed, standing against the far wall where there had been nothing before. Seraphine paused. That wasn't there earlier. Morrigan didn't react. It was... No, Seraphine said, stepping closer, her gaze narrowing slightly. It wasn't... The surface of the mirror shimmered faintly. Not like reflection. Like something beneath it was moving. Seraphine tilted her head slightly. That's not normal. Nothing here is... That's also very clear. She stepped closer. Just one more step. The mark pulsed faintly, but she ignored it. Because the mirror moved, not physically. But the reflection shifted, not matching her, showing something else. Seraphine's eyes narrowed. Are you serious? Morrigan finally looked up. Don't. Too late. Seraphine leaned slightly, peering closer. And there, in the reflection, was Morrigan, standing exactly where she was now, watching. Seraphine blinked once, then slowly turned her head. Morrigan was still across the room. Seraphine looked back at the mirror. Morrigan in the reflection did not move, did not blink, just watched. Seraphine let out a soft, disbelieving breath. Wow, it's not what you think. Oh no, she said. It's exactly what I think. It's a surveillance construct that is not helping your case. It's efficient, it's creepy, it's necessary. Seraphine crossed her arms, leaning slightly to one side. You spy on me. I observe you. You spy on me. I monitor you. You spy on me. Silence. Then, fine, Morrigan said. Seraphine's smile widened just slightly. Thank you. A small sound broke the moment. Soft, light, almost easy to miss. But Seraphine caught it instantly. What was that? She said. Morrigan's expression didn't change. Nothing. That did not sound like nothing. Another sound. Closer this time. A faint flutter. Seraphine turned. And there, perched casually on the edge of a tall stone arch, was a bird. Dark feathers. Sharp eyes. Watching them. Very clearly watching them. Seraphine blinked. You have a bird. It's not a bird. It looks like a bird. It's a familiar... That's still a bird. The creature tilted its head slightly. Then, you talk a lot, it said. Seraphine froze. Then slowly, very slowly, she smiled. It talks. Morrigan closed her eyes briefly. Unfortunately, the bird fluffed its wings slightly, clearly pleased with itself. I am very useful, it said. Seraphine stepped a little closer, her interest now fully captured. What do you do? The bird tilted its head toward Morrigan. I report. Seraphine's smile widened. Slow, dangerous. You report. Morrigan didn't move, didn't react, which was also an answer. Seraphine glanced between them. Then, about me? Silence. The bird shifted slightly. Then, yes, Morrigan inhaled slowly. Don't, too late. Seraphine turned fully toward her now, her expression bright in a way that should have been concerning. You spy on me with a bird. It's efficient. It's embarrassing. It's effective. It talks. That is not relevant. That is very relevant. The bird flapped once, hopping slightly closer. She watches you when you sleep. Silence. Seraphine blinked. Then, a quiet laugh slipped out before she could stop it. Oh, that's wow. Morrigan's voice dropped instantly. Silence. The bird puffed slightly. I am helping. You are not. Seraphine covered her mouth briefly, still trying to suppress the laugh that threatened to escape again. You watch me sleep, she said. Morrigan's gaze sharpened. It observes patterns. That is not better. It is necessary. That is concerning. It is strategic. That is still concerning. Silence. Then, Seraphine lowered her hand, her smile lingering now, softer, but no less dangerous. You're obsessed with me. Morrigan's expression went completely still. No. Seraphine tilted her head slightly. You have a mirror, silence. A bird, silence. And you show up uninvited. Morrigan's eyes narrowed slightly. You're making assumptions. Seraphine stepped closer. Just slightly. I'm making observations. That landed. Because now, it wasn't just teasing, it was true. Morrigan didn't respond, didn't deny it again. Because she couldn't, because she had, because she was. The mark pulsed again. Soft. Steady. And this time, neither of them broke eye contact. The bird shifted slightly, watching them both. Then quietly, this is getting interesting. Morrigan didn't look at it. Leave. The bird tilted its head. No, Seraphine let out another quiet breath that almost turned into a laugh. I like it. Morrigan's voice dropped. You are not helping. Seraphine's gaze stayed locked on hers. I don't think you want me to. Silence fell again. But this time, it felt different. Closer. Lighter. More dangerous. Because now the tension wasn't just about power, or control, or fear. It was something else. Something neither of them had fully acknowledged yet, but both of them felt. So what happens when the person you were supposed to watch starts watching you back? The laughter didn't last. It faded slowly, naturally, like something that wasn't supposed to stay too long in a place like this. And when it was gone, the silence returned. But it didn't feel the same anymore. It felt closer. Seraphine noticed it first. The way the air had shifted, the way Morrigan hadn't moved, hadn't dismissed her, hadn't disappeared the way she usually did when things got too personal. Instead, she stayed, still, watching her. Not like before, not like a threat, not like a test, something else. Seraphine exhaled slowly, her arms loosening at her sides as her gaze held hers a moment longer than necessary. You're still here, she said quietly. Morrigan didn't respond immediately. Because she was. Because she wasn't trying to. You're still unstable, she said instead. Seraphine's lips curved faintly. You've said that already, and I meant it. That's not what I meant. Silence. Then, I know that was new. Not the words, the tone. Seraphine tilted her head slightly, studying her now with a different kind of focus. You don't always deflect, she said. Morrigan's eyes narrowed slightly. I don't deflect. You just did. I redirected. That's the same thing. It isn't. Seraphine's smile softened slightly. You're very committed to being difficult. Morrigan didn't respond. But her gaze didn't leave her either. The mark pulsed. Soft, steady, almost calm. Seraphine felt it, not pain, not pressure, just presence. It's quieter, she murmured. Morrigan's gaze dropped instantly to her wrist. Because you're not fighting it. Seraphine frowned slightly. I'm not doing anything. That's exactly why. A pause. Then, Seraphine swallowed slightly. So what happens if I do? Morrigan's gaze lifted slowly. Don't. That came too quickly. Too sharply. Seraphine noticed. Of course she did. That sounded like concern, she said softly. It's not. You keep saying that because you keep misinterpreting it. Seraphine took a small step closer. Not forced. Not because of the mark. Because she chose to. Then explain it. Morrigan didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't create distance. She just watched her come closer. You don't need explanations, she said. I do. You won't like them. I'll decide that. Silence stretched between them again. Longer this time. Heavier. Because now, they were close. Too close. Not touching. But close enough that it felt like they were. Seraphine's voice dropped slightly. Why does it feel like this? Morrigan didn't answer immediately. Her gaze moved slowly over Seraphine's face. Not searching for weakness. Not measuring threat. Something else. Because it's not just magic, she said finally. Seraphine's breath slowed. Then what is it? Morrigan held her gaze. A connection. You already said that. I didn't mean it like this. A pause. Then, this is different. That changed something. Subtle, but real. Seraphine's brow furrowed slightly. Different how? Morrigan stepped closer. Just enough. The distance between them collapsing into something that no longer felt like space, but like tension held too tightly. It's responding to you, she said. Seraphine's voice dropped. Your magic? Morrigan shook her head slightly. No. A pause. Then, me? Silence. That hit differently. Seraphine's breath caught just slightly. That doesn't make sense. No, Morrigan said quietly. It doesn't, and yet it was happening. The mark pulsed again. Stronger this time. But still, not painful. Seraphine's hand lifted slightly, almost instinctively, her fingers brushing lightly against her wrist. Feels like it's waiting, she murmured. Morrigan's gaze sharpened. For what? Seraphine looked at her. Really looked. For you, that landed. Deep. Morrigan didn't move. Didn't react. But something beneath her control. Shifted. Because that answer wasn't wrong. The air tightened. The space between them smaller now than it had been before. Seraphine's voice softened. You didn't have to come back, she said. Morrigan's jaw tightened slightly. Yes, I did. No, Seraphine said quietly. You chose to silence. Long, unavoidable, because she had. Because she kept doing it. Because she hadn't stopped. Morrigan's gaze darkened slightly. Don't mistake necessity for choice. Seraphine's lips curved faintly. You keep saying that. Another pause. Then, but you're still here. That one stayed. Because it was true. Because she was. Because she hadn't left. Because she didn't want to. Seraphine stepped closer again. Just slightly. Close enough now that if either of them moved, they would touch. You don't leave when you should, she said softly. Morrigan's voice was lower now. And you don't stop when you should. That sounds like a problem. It is yours or mine. A pause. Then, both, the words settled between them. Heavy, honest, dangerous. The mark pulsed again. This time, stronger. The air shifted. The connection tightened, and suddenly, they were too close. Seraphine's breath slowed. Morrigan's gaze dropped briefly, to her lips. Just for a second, then back up. That was new, Seraphine noticed. Of course she did. You're staring, she said quietly. Morrigan didn't respond, didn't deny it, didn't move away. The silence stretched, longer, heavier, charged, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. No kingdom, no curse, no danger. Just this, the space between them, the tension, the pull, the choice neither of them was making, or stopping. Seraphine's voice dropped to almost a whisper. What happens if I don't step back? Morrigan's answer came just as quiet. Then I don't either. That was it. That was the moment. The one that changed everything. Because neither of them moved. Not forward, not back. Just stayed. And for the first time, it wasn't about power. It wasn't about control. It wasn't about fear. It was something else. Something far more dangerous. Because this time, they both wanted it. The mark pulsed again. Sharp. Breaking the moment. Seraphine inhaled suddenly, the sensation snapping her focus as the connection surged unexpectedly, stronger than before, unstable again, the air tightening around them. Morrigan reacted instantly. Her hand moved without hesitation, catching Seraphine's wrist, grounding her, pulling her just slightly back. Too late. The energy surged. Light flickered. Shadows answered. The connection snapped into place, violent, uncontrolled. And this time, it didn't feel like balance. It felt like something had been pushed too far. Seraphine gasped slightly. That's not, I know, Morrigan said sharply. The room shifted. The shadows flickered. The air distorted. And for a moment, it felt like something else had noticed. Something deeper. Something watching from beyond the connection itself. Morrigan's grip tightened. We pushed it too far, she said. Seraphine's breathing was uneven now. You think? This isn't stable. That's been established. Morrigan's gaze snapped toward the far end of the room. Something had changed. Subtle, but real. We're not alone, she said. Seraphine stilled. That's not funny, I'm not joking. Silence. Then, the mirror flickered. The surface shifting violently this time. Not calm, not controlled, something moving beneath it that wasn't supposed to be there. The bird went still. Completely still. That's new, Seraphine said. Morrigan's voice dropped. That's wrong. The connection pulsed again. Hard. And this time, it didn't feel like just them. Something else had felt it too, and it was responding. So what happens when the connection between you is no longer yours alone? The mirror did not settle. It trembled. Not visibly, not enough for anyone who wasn't looking directly at it. But the surface no longer held still. The reflection warped slightly, like something beneath it was trying to push through without fully breaking the surface. Seraphine felt it. Not just through the room. Through the mark. The pulse wasn't steady anymore. It had changed. It felt that, she said quietly. Morrigan didn't answer immediately. Her gaze remained fixed on the mirror, her posture sharper now, her shadows pulling tighter around her feet, not spreading, not attacking, containing. No, she said. A pause. Then, it noticed. That was worse. Seraphine exhaled slowly, her fingers brushing lightly against her wrist again. You keep saying things like that, and somehow, it keeps getting worse. Morrigan's jaw tightened slightly. Because it is. Silence followed. But it wasn't empty. It was waiting. And for the first time since they had entered the castle, Morrigan stepped back. Not away from Seraphine, away from the mirror. Deliberately, leave it, she said. Frowned slightly. That doesn't sound like you. It's not a suggestion. That definitely sounds like you. Morrigan's gaze flicked to her, sharp, warning. But there was something beneath it now, something quieter. Less certain, Seraphine noticed. Of course she did. You don't like this, she said. Morrigan didn't respond. That was answer enough. The bird shifted slightly, hopping down from its perch, its sharp eyes moving between them before settling on the mirror. It wasn't there before, it said. Seraphine glanced at it. I noticed. Morrigan's voice dropped. It's not supposed to react like that. Seraphine folded her arms slightly. You say that a lot. This time it matters. A pause. Then, because it reacted to both of us, silence fell, heavier than before. Because that changed something. Seraphine's gaze lifted slowly. So it's not just me. Morrigan didn't answer. But she didn't deny it either. Seraphine took a step closer. Morrigan didn't stop her, didn't pull her back, didn't command. She just watched. You're not stopping me this time, Seraphine said quietly. Morrigan's voice was calm, too calm. I'm choosing not to. Seraphine tilted her head slightly. That's new. It's temporary. You keep saying that. Because it is. Seraphine's lips curved faintly. You don't sound convinced. Morrigan didn't respond. Because she wasn't. Seraphine turned away from the mirror. Slowly. Deliberately. Her focus shifting back to Morrigan. Tell me something, she said. Morrigan's gaze narrowed slightly. No. Seraphine almost smiled. You didn't even let me ask. I don't need to. That's a terrible habit. It hasn't been a problem. Seraphine stepped closer. It is now. That landed. Again. Morrigan held her gaze. Didn't move. Didn't retreat. Didn't dismiss her. What? She said finally. Seraphine's voice softened slightly. Why? Silence. Immediate. Heavy. Unavoidable. Because that was the question no one asked. Because that was the question she never answered. Morrigan's expression didn't change. But something behind it shifted. You don't need that answer, she said. Seraphine didn't step back. I do. You won't understand it. Then explain it. I don't explain things. You've said that. And I meant it. Seraphine exhaled slowly, her gaze steady, unwavering. Everyone in my kingdom fears you, she said quietly. Morrigan didn't respond. They whisper your name like it's a curse. Silence. They say you destroyed everything. A pause. Then they say you don't feel anything at all. That one lingered. Because it wasn't just what people said. It was what they believed. Seraphine held her gaze. Is that true? Morrigan didn't answer. Not immediately. Because for the first time, she wasn't choosing silence. She was choosing what to say. Everyone thinks I destroyed this kingdom, she said slowly. The words came quieter than expected. Less sharp. Seraphine didn't interrupt. Didn't move. Didn't break the moment. Morrigan's gaze shifted slightly. Not away. Just less direct. But no one ever asked why. The truth. The truth. Or at least, the beginning of it. Seraphine's voice dropped. I'm asking. Silence followed, long, heavy. Because this wasn't something she gave. Not easily. Not ever. Morrigan's fingers curled slightly at her side, her shadows reacting instinctively, tightening, shifting, like they didn't like where this was going. This kingdom, she said slowly, was not always yours. Seraphine frowned slightly. What does that mean? Morrigan's gaze lifted again, sharper now, more focused. Before your father, before his father, before all of them. A pause. Then, this land belonged to something else. The room felt colder. Not physically, something deeper. Seraphine's breath slowed slightly. Something else. Morrigan stepped closer. Just slightly. Something older. That word settled. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Real. Seraphine's voice softened. And you destroyed it. Morrigan's expression changed. Not anger. Not defensiveness. Something sharper. More dangerous. No, she said. A pause. Then, they did. Silence. Because that wasn't the story anyone knew. Seraphine's brow furrowed. Who? Morrigan held her gaze. Your kingdom. That hit. Hard. Because it shifted everything. Because it meant this wasn't just destruction. This was something else. Seraphine exhaled slowly. So you cursed them. Morrigan didn't deny it. I ended what they started. That's not the same thing. It is to me. Silence stretched. Tighter. More fragile. Because now, It wasn't just enemy and enemy, it was perspective. Truth. History. Seraphine's voice dropped slightly. What did they do? Morgan didn't answer immediately. Her gaze moved again, not avoiding, remembering. They took something that wasn't theirs, she said. A pause. Then, and they broke it. The room felt heavier. Because that wasn't just history. That was personal. Seraphine's voice softened. And you tried to fix it. Morgan's eyes darkened. I tried to stop it. A pause. Then, I failed. That was new. That was something no one had ever heard. Not from her, not about her. Seraphine didn't speak. Because she didn't need to. Because that silence said enough. Morgan's voice dropped further. So I ended everything instead. There it was. The truth. Not clean. Not simple. Not justified. But real. Seraphine's breath slowed. And you think that was right? Morgan didn't hesitate. I think it was necessary. Silence fell again. But this time, it didn't feel hostile. It felt heavy. Because now, they understood something they weren't supposed to. Seraphine looked at her. Really looked. Not as a witch. Not as an enemy. As someone who had lost. You're still angry, she said quietly. Morgan's gaze sharpened instantly. You are. A pause. Then, you didn't stop because you wanted to. That hit. Because it was true. Because she hadn't. Morgan's voice dropped. Careful. Seraphine stepped closer. Just slightly. You're not done, she said. Morgan didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't deny it. Because she wasn't. Because this wasn't over. Because it never had been. The mark pulsed again. Soft. Steady. And this time, neither of them looked away. Because now, it wasn't just about power or connection or survival. It was something deeper, something more dangerous. Understanding. And that was the real problem. Because once you understand your enemy, it becomes a lot harder to destroy them. So what happens when the person you were meant to hate is the only one who finally understands you? The silence after her words did not feel empty. It lingered. Heavy. Charged. Like something had shifted between them, and neither of them was willing to move first. Seraphine didn't step back. That was the first mistake. Or maybe, the first choice. Her gaze remained fixed on Morgan, not with defiance this time, not with challenge, but with something quieter, something that had replaced the edge in her voice with curiosity, and something far more dangerous beneath it. Understanding. Morgan noticed. Of course she did. Her posture stilled slightly, her shadows tightening faintly around her feet, not rising, not attacking, reacting. You're looking at me differently, Morgan said. Seraphine didn't deny it. So are you. That landed. Because it was true. Because she was. Because something about this moment felt unfamiliar in a way neither of them liked. Or wanted to stop. The mark pulsed. Soft. Steady. But this time, it didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a pull. Seraphine inhaled slowly, her breath steady but shallow as her hand lifted slightly, not touching the mark. Just hovering near it. It's doing that again, she murmured. Morgan's gaze dropped instantly. It's responding to what Morgan's voice lowered. To this. Seraphine's eyes flicked back to hers. To what Morgan didn't answer. Because she didn't want to say it. Because saying it made it real. Because she already knew. This time, not because of the mark, not because of pain, because she wanted to. Morgan didn't move, didn't stop her, didn't step back. She just watched. You didn't finish what you were saying, Seraphine said softly. Morgan's gaze narrowed slightly. I said enough. No, Seraphine replied quietly. You didn't. Silence stretched, long, unavoidable. Because this wasn't about the kingdom anymore. This wasn't about the curse. This was about something else. Something happening right now. Between them. Seraphine stepped closer again. Now, too close. Close enough that the space between them felt intentional, like it had been chosen. You hate them, she said softly. Morgan didn't respond. You hate what they did. Silence. But you didn't destroy everything for nothing. That struck something. Morgan's expression shifted. Not visibly, but enough. Seraphine saw it. You're still angry, she said. Morgan's voice dropped. Don't. Seraphine didn't stop. And you don't know how to let it go. Morgan stepped forward. Suddenly. Closing the distance completely. The air snapped tight between them. Careful, she said. But her voice wasn't steady. And that changed everything. They were too close now. No space. No distance. Just breath, heat, awareness. Seraphine didn't step back, didn't break eye contact. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. Or what? Morrigan's gaze flickered briefly, to her lips. Then back. Or I stopped being patient. That wasn't a threat, not really. Seraphine noticed. Of course she did. You were never patient, she said softly. A faint breath left Morrigan. Not quite a laugh. Not quite frustration. Something in between? You're testing limits you don't understand. Seraphine's lips curved slightly. Maybe I want to. Silence. Then, the mark pulsed. Hard. This time, it didn't hurt. It surged. The connection snapped into place instantly, stronger than before, deeper, pulling them closer even when there was no space left to close. Seraphine's breath hitched slightly. Morrigan felt it. Her hand moved, without hesitation, and the moment their skin touched, everything aligned, the energy steadied, the tension sharpened, the world narrowed, not to the room, not to the castle, to them. Seraphine's free hand instinctively caught Morrigan's arm, steadying herself as the connection settled into something that no longer felt chaotic, but controlled. Her breath slowed. This again, she whispered. Morrigan didn't answer. Her gaze hadn't left her, not once. Not since she stepped closer. The silence stretched, longer, heavier, different. Because now, it wasn't just tension, it wasn't just connection, it was choice. Seraphine's voice dropped slightly. You didn't have to come back. Morrigan's jaw tightened faintly. Yes, I did. No, Seraphine said softly. You chose to. That stayed. Because it was true. Because she had. Because she kept doing it. Because she hadn't stopped. Morrigan didn't respond. Because she couldn't. Because there wasn't a version of that answer she could say out loud. Seraphine stepped just a fraction closer. Enough that her breath brushed faintly against Morrigan's skin. You're still here, she said quietly. Morrigan's voice lowered. So are you... That's not the same thing. It is now silence. Then, Seraphine's gaze dropped, just for a second, then back up. What happens if I don't step back? Morrigan's answer came softer this time. Then I don't either. That was it. That was the moment. The one that changed everything. Because neither of them moved. Not away. Not forward. Just stayed. And for the first time, there was nothing between them but the choice they were both making. Or refusing to stop. Morrigan's gaze dropped again. To her lips. This time, longer. Seraphine didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't break it. Because she felt it too. The shift. The pull. The possibility. Her voice was barely there. You're staring again. Morrigan didn't deny it. So are you. A breath passed between them. Shared. Unsteady. And then Morrigan leaned in. Slow. Deliberate. Close enough now that there was no mistaking it. No misreading. No denying. Seraphine didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't stop her. Because she wasn't afraid. Because she wanted to know. Because she... The mirror shattered. Not loudly. Not violently. But enough. A sharp crack split through the room as the surface fractured suddenly, dark energy surging through it, distorting the reflection violently as something pushed against it from the other side. Both of them froze. The moment broke instantly. Morrigan pulled back. Sharp. Immediate. Like the contact had burned. Seraphine's breath caught. What was that? She whispered. Morrigan's expression hardened instantly, her gaze snapping toward the mirror. That's not supposed to happen. The bird shrieked sharply, wings flaring slightly as it backed away. That is definitely not normal, it said. The mirror pulsed again, cracks spreading further, the surface shifting, moving, like something behind it was trying to get through. Seraphine stepped back slightly, her focus snapping back to the room, to the danger, to everything that had just been forgotten. You said it noticed us, she said. Morrigan's voice dropped. I said it shouldn't be able to reach us here. A pause. Then, I was wrong. That was worse than anything else. The mirror cracked again, deeper, wider. And this time, something moved inside it. Not a reflection, not an illusion. Something real. Something watching. Seraphine's breath slowed. It's here, she said quietly. Morrigan stepped forward. Her shadows rose instantly, darker, sharper, more aggressive than before, coiling around her like they were ready this time. No, she said. A pause. Then, it's coming. The air dropped. The connection pulsed again. Hard. And this time, it didn't feel like just them. it felt like something else had locked onto it. Locked onto her. Seraphine's hand tightened slightly around Morrigan's arm. "We're not done with this, are we?" Morrigan didn't look at her. Her gaze fixed on the mirror. Her voice lower, more dangerous than before. "No." A pause. "Then, this is just the beginning," the mirror cracked again. And something on the other side moved closer. "So what happens when the moment you almost chose each other is the moment something else chooses you too?"
And that is where we leave you tonight. I know. We will be back very soon with the next episode, I promise you. It only gets deeper from here. If you felt something, drop your favorite moment in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you are watching this for the first time, welcome to the kingdom. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next. Because in Crowns and Curses, nothing is ever what it seems. And nobody falls the way these two will fall. Until next time, stay brave,
stay curious, and remember, the most powerful magic in any world is the kind that chooses you back. See you in episode 3.